Our next guest knows firsthand the realities of military service, and now he's using science to better understand how trauma affects the mind and body. Michael Baumgarten is a U.S. Army Ranger veteran and a PhD student at ASU researching PTSD from an evolutionary perspective through the Institute of Human Origins. That is a mouthful.
Thank you. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Tell me, how did your military experience lead you to study PTSD through this lens of anthropology?
I served for almost 11 years, did a few deployments overseas. And, you know, that experience during the global war on terror informed a lot of things that I've done in my life. Loss of close friends, not just during service, but then afterwards. And so seeing that happen, I kind of started developing some questions, and then found a place at ASU where someone was actually working on that. And anthropology has a really great set of tools and perspectives to address this across not just kind of specialized populations like U.S. veterans, but broadly across for all humans. Yeah.
How is PTSD usually defined for the general public, so that we are sort of on the same page as we get into this discussion?
Yeah. So PTSD is kind of generally defined as a set of symptoms that persist after a traumatic event that lasts for approximately 30 days or more. So an individual essentially fails to kind of return to kind of a successful regulatory state. Your
recent research with ASU looked at a very specific group of people in Kenya. Tell me about this group and why them.
Yeah. So we looked at this population called the Turkana. They live in northern Kenya. They're a semi-nomadic pastoralist group, so they're dependent on livestock herding. It's very important for their way of life. But they also engage in kind of culturally sanctioned intergroup cattle raiding, and these raids can be lethal. And so they're a unique population that is culturally very different than us, but has a high level of combat exposure and mortality from these raids.
And you found some unexpected results about hormones. Talk about that.
Yeah. So generally the thinking is that individuals with PTSD, that kind of affects your biology, right? So your hormones become dysregulated. And what we found was that really what we didn't find is what's most important is that these Turkana warriors, we looked at their cortisol and their testosterone, and there really was no difference, no change in individuals that would have qualified for kind of a preliminary PTSD diagnosis from those who didn't.
What did you think you would find? Like, what was sort of the assumption?
Yeah, the assumption would be to find some dysregulation, some alteration. Just, at least in this sample, it wasn't there, and it all requires a lot more investigation for sure.
The cultural environment, do you think that's the reason why? And how does that sort of play into the hormone differences?
Yeah, right now we can only speculate and say that may be one way to look at this. The Turkana have very different outlook on kind of intergroup violence. The role of their warriors in society is very different than ours, and so that there may be social coping mechanisms, rituals, etc., tighter group bonding. All these things may play a role in how individuals, at least in the Turkana environment, deal with trauma.
So how might the Turkana's experience, or what you've witnessed, how does that compare to U.S. veterans?
Yeah, so these two populations are interesting to compare. In the U.S., we have a very different set of cultural norms. We have a very diverse, complex set of kind of morals to navigate, and this applies to soldiers, anyone in the military. Turkana have a very different set of rules. Any kind of fighting or violence is localized. The population also shares in the risk, because they are also raided by other groups in return. In the U.S., our wars are fought somewhere else, and we have very different processes of how we connect with warriors, soldiers, whatever word you want to use for that. Where there seems to be a larger gap in the U.S. versus the Turkana.
It sounds like there's more of a wall or a distance maybe between U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the experience, like my experience in Afghanistan and Iraq, while they're veterans people that were there understand that. It's very different to explain that to those who didn't serve, younger folks. And so, the Turkana, they don't have that same issue.
Michael Baumgarten, thank you very much. We've got just a few seconds left. Where can somebody find some more information about the research?
If they go to the ASU, the website for the Institute of Human Origins, they'll be able to find it that way, or I don't know, just Google my name, I suppose. Is one way.
Thank you for your research,
no
and
worries.
thank you very much for your service.
Yeah,
We
no, thank you for your
appreciate it.
time. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.